Thank you to yet another episode of the African Storyteller podcast, where we are interviewing African and global leaders that are really changing Africa's narrative, but also the global narrative, and are helping us to build a generation of leaders that is really going to take what the world needs today to survive for generations and generations to come into the next level. And we cannot start even thinking about building a future without tackling the issue of women. About 50% of the world's population, which equates to 4 billion, is really women. And these are people that are marginalized, mainly just by the basis of their gender. And I think today we are having a conversation with a global icon, a leader who is really taking this as her mission in life, to build the next generation of women leaders that will be equal to men and will be equal to the task. But most importantly, a leader that has decided that we need to start to build from the bottom up. You cannot fill from an empty cup. And she has created a movement called the Sister Accord, where she's looking to get 1 billion young girls and women to basically learn to love themselves, learn to love each other and support each other, so that together we can build the confidence, the skills, the capacity that is needed to contribute to our respective economies, but really contribute towards creating a better world for all who live in it. Sonia, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. This is just super amazing.
Thank you so much,
wow.
sister. I'm so honored to be here.
Absolutely, and thank you for doing such amazing work in terms of giving your time, your expertise, and your heart and soul into creating the next generation of the world's future women leaders.
Yeah, so I started my corporate career at Ford Motor Company. And that's actually the last time that I was here in South Africa. More than 20 years ago, I was buying the precious metals. My group was buying the precious metals that go into the catalytic converters for Ford Motor Company for all their cars around the world. Can you believe that? And so it was such a wonderful experience. Having the opportunity now to come back to share with the world and share with this country why it is so important for girls and women to learn how to love themselves and then to extend that love to each other. I had a mentee from every continent, with the exception of Antarctica, during my corporate years: Ford, Gillette, and Procter & Gamble. And I saw the differences between my male mentees and my female mentees. I kept saying, why is this happening? Why are women not supporting each other? Why are they seeing each other as competition in the workplace versus collaborators? And I said, okay, there's something here. With all of this information and insight, what am I going to do with this? So I call it a humanity insight, where I began to research and understand that no matter where you grew up, with socioeconomic background, race, creed, color, it didn't matter. Girls are socialized differently than boys. And we have to pay attention to this if we're going to do something about it. We are socialized to not like each other, and we're socialized to not like ourselves. And now social media has exacerbated that, and it makes our girls and women feel like they're not enough. Oh, comparison is the enemy of joy. So the moment you get on there and you start scrolling, you're going to always find something that makes you feel less than. And so what our work is all about, both in schools and in corporate America and in organizations, is this: we have to figure out how to tap into our greatness. Because when you figure out how to tap into your greatness and all those superpowers and all that stuff that was planted inside of you as you were formed in your mother's womb, something amazing happens. And this is everything that I used to do with all of my mentees around the world. When I got them to focus on that, they didn't have time for comparison. They didn't have time for hating on each other, because they were focused on getting to that next level of excellence. And so I am essentially using all of the tools and models and everything that I use today it started from my time in corporate America as a mentor.
And I understand that, part of your training, your teachings are now incorporated into the curriculum in Cincinnati. Is that something that you really want to replicate, around the world? And what are some of the results that you're starting to see by actually catching these young girls at a young age when they're still at school?
We have so many amazing stories of what happens to girls when we just pour into them and we speak life into them. And boys as well, boys and men. So everything that I'm saying, we have seen evidence and outcomes that are associated with the work that we're doing, because a lot of it is focused on emotional intelligence, skill building, leadership development. And so to have our very first curriculum, and I co-founded a Girls to Women program at Cincinnati Public Schools. Everyone said to me, Sonia, how did this happen? And for me, it's all about, it's the favor of God. He asked me to do this work. I was afraid of it, so I ran from it. We all get scared and run from purpose. And then when I finally said, here I am, just use me. Then everything that I needed was added unto this amazing work. And so starting at Cincinnati Public Schools, and I just recently announced Cleveland Metropolitan School District. So, and I've worked with a variety of other school districts in Michigan and New York City. It is incredible what has happened. And we have these stories. Oh my goodness. Girls will come to our events and they say, something happened to me at your event. There's a transformation that occurred. And now I am seeing myself differently, and I'm seeing other women differently, other girls differently. My relationships have changed. My relationships at home have changed. My relationships with my mother, right? And so everything that we have desired is actually coming to life. And, I have so many stories. People have said, you've helped me to overcome an anxiety disorder that I was diagnosed with. You've helped me to not take my life. That blew me away. And so I went to the head of trauma for Cincinnati Children's Hospital and I said, tell me the science behind why people are coming to our events, experiencing this transformation, and then it's sustained even after they leave. And he said, Sonia, everything that you do, every detail that you've put together for these programs, they're helping people heal from trauma. He said, and because you're giving strategies on top of providing these beautiful engagements, you're giving people some tools that they can use when you're not around. And so we just have some incredible young women. Jada Rogers is one who I talk about frequently. I met Jada when her principal brought her to our Louisville, Kentucky Tea Party. She was getting into trouble, on the wrong road. And as she says, I could have been a statistic. And we said, not so. Within the Sister Accord family, we're going to hold you up. We're going to hold you accountable, but we're going to hold you up. And we're going to put this circle of women and other girls around you to give you the support and the love that you deserve. And guess what happened? Jada went from getting into trouble to now she's in law school. Do you understand? These are the kinds of stories that we have. People going on getting advanced degrees. They're going to college. And the fact that we were able to launch the Sister Accord Africa in Zimbabwe during the middle of a pandemic. We started in Harare, then we went to Bulawayo, then we went to Malawi, and now we're getting ready to establish additional chapters. What is important about the work that we do is we don't just talk, we walk. And so we give scholarships and business grants to women-owned businesses so that we can invest in both girls and women in a very special way.
So, Sonia, you are actually looking to get 1 billion girls and women into the sister accord. Is that even achievable? 1 billion?
Well, I always talk to people, all of my mentees, about making sure that your dreams are big.
Absolutely.
Because if there's something that you can achieve in your basement tomorrow, in your bathroom tomorrow, it's not big enough.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so as I was writing everything down, because the Sister Accord came to me in a dream, I literally saw my book covers, I saw everything. Standing in front of people, standing in stadiums, standing in schools, I literally saw it all. And I was like, what was that?
Wow.
And so I was writing down everything. I tell everyone, lay it out, write it down, make it plain, because research says that you have a higher rate of being able to actually bring it to life when you write your dreams down.
Absolutely.
And so I wrote 1 million. Oh, if I can get 1 million. And at that time, I've been doing this a long time.
Yes,
I just hadn't named it the Sister Accord, but I've been working, at this, even back in college,
Yes.
And so I remember writing 1 million. I'm doing my prayer and meditation time that I do every morning. And I heard very clearly, no, the number is 1 billion. You've touched 1 million already.
Yes.
And so don't try to play it safe with this like you typically do.
Yeah.
Because some of us play it safe, and some of us play small.
Yeah.
Right? Play small because I don't want to offend other people. I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable with what I'm doing. Or is that safe? Ooh, I can't say that. I can't say 1 billion. But this work is so significant. And I know that I'm called for such a time as this, given everything that's happening in our world today.
Yeah.
And so if we're really going to make an impact, I knew the number had to be big.
Yes.
And we are inspiring, and that's why I really say that, we're inspiring 1 billion girls and women to learn how to love themselves and each other. So we can touch them even if we don't physically touch them.
Absolutely.
Because technology has allowed us to do that. So on our YouTube channel, 55 million views, people will say to me, I just come and watch your videos. They've saved my life. That's the kind of feedback that we get.
Yeah.
And so I know that God would not give me this vision without the provision.
The dream is crystallizing. You are touching so many young girls and women. You are basically changing the world one community at a time.
Yes.
You are really capturing this in the 2 books that you've already published, which means it's going to be passed from generation to generation. Do you want to tell us about the 2 books that you've already published?
Yes.
But also, are we going to see more books? Because
Yes.
there's just so much
Right.
that, we need to actually unlearn and
That's
then
right.
learn to then basically be the women that are ready for the tasks.
Yes, you ask amazing questions, by the way.
Thank you.
So yes, the first book is 51 Ways to Love Your Sister. And I remember seeing it in my dream.
Wow.
And so I keep a journal next to my bed. And so I wrote out all the ways that I saw. And then I counted them. And I thought originally the book was going to be 50 ways to love your sister. And I said, oh, I have 51. So everyone always wants to know why is it 51?
Yeah.
It's because when I wrote them down, I
Yes.
counted and it was 51. And then it was nominated for an NAACP Image Award. And that's when I was like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
People really do want to talk about this and want to read about this, because the self-sabotage that we all do sometimes is, I kept saying, well, I'm not a celebrity. No one would buy my book. And now here we are in our 7th printing.
Oh, wow.
Because the book just keeps selling.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It keeps selling.
Wow, amazing.
And so because I was working with all these leaders and they were talking about things that happened in their childhood that was they were still dealing with. said, the second book will be 51 Ways to Love Your Children. How do we address what happens during childhood, and how do we break these cycles of dysfunction and these legacies of things that have been passed down from generation to generation?
Yes.
So that's why 51 Ways to Love Your Children was written. And as you said, there's so many other 51 ways.
Absolutely. I'm already thinking 51 ways to love yourself.
Yes, sister.
Because it starts with the self.
It starts with us.
Wow, that's actually quite amazing.
Thank you.
So you've been here in South Africa, you've launched, you've had time to go around the country, do different activities, see different people. What are some of the commonalities that you're seeing, in all these countries that you've actually been to?
It's amazing what I see, and I think it's tied back to that humanity insight that I spoke about earlier. We've got to build the confidence. Our girls can do whatever it is that they desire to do, but in so many instances, they'll say, I can't do that.
Yes, yeah.
And I say, well, why not? All we have to talk about is what would it take for you to do it, to accomplish it.
Absolutely.
So it is also the piece that I talk about a lot is we have to have an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
And I used to say this all the time in corporate America: stop fighting over crumbs. You're fighting over the crumbs when we can create new pies.
Absolutely.
We can expand the pie. And so if we start our businesses, if we start talking differently in our schools about what this looks like, and that you can win and I can win at the same time, because previously people bought into the fact that only one of us can win.
Absolutely.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. So we bought into these false narratives, and that has led us to have behaviors that are less than positive as it relates to each other.
And what are some of the challenges that you have actually experienced in your journey of basically building the next generation of women leaders?
A lot of it, a big part of what I have to do is fundraise. And I don't like to ask people for money.
Yeah.
So that's a big, help me.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of what I have to get comfortable with.
Yes.
Because my nature is I'm a giver.
Yes.
And so now I've got to turn that on its head and ask. But when I get clear about the reason why I'm asking, I'm able to move past some of that fear and that angst with doing it. So I would say the funds to do this work has been probably the biggest challenge. We've been so blessed. In 10 years, we have given over $100,000 US in scholarships.
Amazing.
We have given over 70,000 in business grants and helping people, particularly during COVID, helping people pay bills, helping people, with mortgages or rent. And so we have really walked the talk. Now it's time to go to another level. So we will be raising funds to actually have staff. No, everyone in all of these 10 years have been volunteer. Even myself, I don't get a salary from the Sister Court Foundation. So now we're getting ready to move to another level and finding the right people with the right skills is what's going to really be important for this next level, as I call it, of excellence for the organization.
Okay, so 5 years, 10 years from now, where do you want to see this movement?
Oh my gosh, when I was speaking at the University of Michigan one time, a young lady said, Miss Sonia, why are you only talking about $1 billion? You need to get this message to all girls and women. So that would be $4 billion, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so a big part of what we are focused on is what does the expansion of this work really look like? And that's why having employees and having a foundation with staff dedicated to this is going to be important. We have a chapter at the University of Zimbabwe. We have a chapter at the Ohio State University in the States, and we have now requests for other sister core chapters to be on campuses, because when you think about that place that our girls and women are at when they're getting ready to start their careers, and understanding how to navigate what happens inside of corporate America or wherever it is they want to go, is really important. And that's what we help them with, leadership development that sets them up for success. And so being on college campuses and reinforcing some of this emotional intelligence skill building, focusing on mental, emotional, and physical health and well-being, because that's what we do. We focus holistically, is also very important. And so expanding onto more college campuses is going to be a big part. We want to give more money. We don't give loans, so we give grants. And so being able to move to another level in terms of our giving is also very important to me. And so that's what I'm going to be focused on.
Oh, Sonia, thank you, thank you, thank you. This has really been amazing. And the work that you are doing, you know, building the next generation of global leaders is truly, truly commendable. We thank you for the time that you have given us. We wish you well on the work that you are doing and that you will continue to do. But most importantly, we look forward to talking to you again soon in the near future.
Absolutely. It's been such an honor to be here with you today. Thank you for taking time to talk about something that is so important for our girls and women around the world.